Welcome to GARcast, home of all manly media.
Hello and welcome to GARcast. And again, we're here to talk about manga and to recommend you a lot of things. We have mature manga, seinen, probably also mecha, and there's mature, fun, and obscure stuff that we want to tell you about. And as always, we have our round together, and that is Ali,
Hey,
Boris,
Hello.
Ayo, and me, Elena. Tom sadly couldn't be here, as in the last podcast, as he said. He is on a little world tour. He's vagabonding, so he just sends his best
Tom
wishes.
is on a spiritual journey.
Yeah, so who would like to start?
I suppose I could start and you two can jump in if you feel like it. I know you've read parts or the beginning of Golden Kamuy.
Yep.
Yay!
Which is the series I'd like to introduce before it is. I don't know if is Golden Kamuy even obscure.
At this point, probably not. But it's not exactly the most popular thing.
It's probably more like the anime seasonal thing right now.
Yeah. We won't talk about that.
Yeah. It's gonna get a boost from the anime, I suppose.
That's one good thing it's gonna do.
Yeah, it could be. It's yeah. I'm not gonna. So yeah, where do I want to start? A short plot synopsis, I guess, is Golden Kamuy is a story about a man, a veteran from the Russian-Japanese War, who sets out to find a hidden treasure and teams up with a young Ainu girl. The hook sort of is that the map to the treasure is tattooed on to the bodies of escaped prisoners, and they would need to either kill those people or convince them to copy their tattoos to get the full map. And yeah, that's basically the basic plot outline. It goes into wild places. Every one of the prisoners sort of gets like a little arc, or most of them do at least. And there's a shit ton of characters to go around. There's a lot of different factions. There is a lot of double and triple crossing, and yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, a very cool like historical nature setting. You'll find a lot of cool landscape shots, especially in that, and learn a lot about different cultures and traditional Japanese folklore as well as life.
Yeah, I mean, aside from just being high quality in virtually every aspect I can think of, I would say the two things that most stand out about Golden Kamuy is, first of all, the extremely well-researched Ainu culture, which is supposedly not even that easily available knowledge, because there's not that many Ainu left who are keeping in touch with their culture in Japan. But it's all like, yeah, really, you're getting a lot of that, and it's pretty interesting. At least I think so. And the other aspect of the manga that stands out is all of the survivalist shit you get in the story, such as how to set traps and hunt animals, and how to turn those animals into food with recipes, and all of that stuff, which is something I always enjoy. And it's basically the first manga that I've read that kind of caters to that survivalist stuff. So definitely enjoying it more for that aspect, even though it kind of just takes it as like a diversion and stops the story to give you little bits on how to trap a rabbit or something. But it's that's good stuff for me.
The pacing is really good as well. You can get through a volume of it in one sitting, really.
Yeah. It really does keep up the momentum quite nicely.
And the reaction faces are perfect.
Yeah, the art is very, very lively. It has plenty of good faces, plenty of good nature shots, and all of that.
Yeah, so if you think this is going to be like some dry historical stuff, it's not. Like the characters that are in it are very, very fun, very lively, interact and bounce off each other extremely well. And there's a lot of humor in it too.
Ironically, it's like Golden Kamuy is probably the only manga that actually makes me laugh pretty hard consistently, which is not something that even like comedy manga can claim to do. Just has a really good neck for it. I think it's just the brevity of the humor. It's not really, despite the hilarious reaction phases, it's not about prolonged overreaction and other stuff that bothers me about Japanese humor. Actually nails that aspect nicely. And as you said, character interactions are all super, super strong. That's the primary strength of the manga, is that everyone is interesting or cool and they all interact with each other nicely.
And have some quite unique designs as well. Like I think if you have been around like social media, especially Twitter, you will always find some lovely fan art from a lot of people.
Yes.
And like seeing the characters is always good fun.
Also, if you want to see a type of fan service that caters to a different demographic, it's the cast is primarily male, and it seems like all of the fan service in the manga is focused around the guys and how nicely shaped they are.
Yes, and well, as we have to point out here, they are not like your typical bishi men. If you would probably like think of Free right now or something else like men servicey. Like no, these are all like grown men. So if you like your grown man service, there you go.
If you like your manly, but you also enjoy two guys just lying on the floor and looking at a flower growing out of the snow, then that's there too.
Like yeah, so far I haven't read that far, but so far all the man service that I've seen also double as fantastic humor elements.
Yeah,
like all of it is in a funny way. So it doesn't take you out of the story if you're scared about that or something.
There's a real balance going on here of humor and grisly violence, I guess. There's definitely a lot of that as well. So do not take me wrong. This is not always lighthearted, but it knows how to keep the balance.
Yeah, you have like grisly nature stuff. Like with a lot of feral animals and animal attacks, but also I don't know if it comes back later, but also like war flashbacks.
Yeah.
With the gruesome fight scenes.
Yep.
With knives and guns and stuff.
I just realized that grisly violence doubles as a pun here.
Yes. It does. Cue in the grisly panel, future Elena, just for that.
I'm sure I'm gonna have some pages for you because I've taken a shit ton of screenshots.
Oh yeah, the as we said already, the reaction faces are already perfect, and like many panels and pages of Golden Kamuy are just perfect for throwing them out there without even a context. So they're just gonna spread some joy.
I'm not sure how far have you guys read?
First 3 volumes.
About the first 2, because I wanted the physical release, so I just imported the first 2 out of the UK.
Yeah, I'm also trying to buy the physicals as they come out. They always seem to be sold out at first. Like it's always takes Amazon a while for them to restock, which I hope is a sign of its popularity.
Yeah, mine was delayed, volume 4. So, yes, it was either really popular or they've got like 4 in stock. Either extreme, I guess.
Yeah, you would assume that they would have figured it out by volume 4. So, yeah, maybe it is positive.
Yeah. So how long is Golden Kamuy right now?
I'm thinking it's somewhere around the 120 chapters are out, but the scan laters are really picking up the pace and translating a bunch of them lately, so I'm thinking there's even more. Golden Kamuy is actually a digital manga, from what I've heard. Like, it's all drawn digitally, and it comes out in like a, I guess, digital manga magazine.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, it's I want to say like a dozen volumes until you're caught up, which is gonna take a while for the physicals to catch up, but whatever.
Yeah, well, the physical releases are also very nice if you're thinking of getting them. I don't know if it's just the UK format, but I like that they're just slightly bigger.
Yeah,
the feel figure to me.
range for those ones, so they're larger and the page quality is a bit nicer.
Yeah, so you're getting your artwork on like a really nice big release.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to say, but I forgot. This is dementia at work. About the scanlations. Like, I'm not sure if the physical volumes have it. I've just kind of skimmed through them. The stuff that the scanlators do, which is pretty nice, is that they always add notes at the end of every chapter where they go into terminology they used in that chapter and stuff that was mentioned, like historical events and Ainu culture shit. Like, the scanlators are doing a really good job too. If you want to read ahead, or if you want to keep up with the physical, whichever, as long as you support it. Golden Kamuy is basically risen up the ranks and like threatening to become my favorite manga, period. So, needless to say, I recommend it.
Nice. Oh, I'm just looking at the physical release, and in the back there is like a bibliography of secondary literature about Ainu culture.
Right.
So yeah, from the Hokkaido Ainu Association and Otaru City General Museum. Okay, that's cool.
It's doing a lot to spread awareness of Ainu culture, even like internationally with the fan base.
So yeah, so we have a cult niche manga that is becoming a shining cult manga. I would say. I think it's still not mainstream, but it's working its way up.
It's mainstream with the manga crowd, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Nice. So what was our first one? Ali, do you want to, or should I?
I can go. So, Kengan Ashura.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which I've gotten really into recently. The premise is pretty out there. It's about some alternate reality where businesses and mass corporations, instead of settling business deals through meetings and money, everything is sorted through gladiatorial style battles. Where they all select like a champion to fight another business's champion in order to settle stocks or just general business deals. Which, it's a really strange really strange premise. And getting your head around that to begin with is quite strange. And then it mostly focuses on fights. It's pretty much 99% a tournament arc at the moment anyway, from what's been translated. With the current one being settling who's going to become the leader of this association that runs the gladiatorial battles. And you follow the main character, who is... Well, he's not really the main character. The main character is the fighter, but his boss, I guess, is this really frail old man who is thrown into this gladiatorial business
Yeah, I've seen him.
business ring.
It's fantastic.
And he's essentially told, yeah, you're in charge of our champion. And then his champion is this young martial artist. And it's really, really weird manga. But it's incredibly well drawn. The anatomy and how impact and movement is drawn is just amazing. It gets you so into it. And it's got a really good array of body types. So you'll get massive... absolute unit sumo wrestlers and or like much more slender martial artists, but then you also get people who are like, there's a Japanese fisherman who is an massive old man who fights whales in the cold Japanese sea, or you get it's the best bit is how they make fun of the Americans. So you get
Of course.
like McDonald's is one of the companies, and then you get my favorite is there's this weapons like arms dealer, and their representative you took like the a Chinese martial art, instead of using it to base around animals, it's based around like military weapons, so like all the moves are based around missiles, and it's just so American. It's so much fun.
Needless to say, the fighting is not realistic.
No,
it's not aiming for MMA realism.
Yeah, think of Baki, I guess, is its closest.
Yeah, it's a lot like Baki, I guess.
Yeah, proportions are really exaggerated, and the action is very much exaggerated. But it's a good time.
Even though the author of the manga and the editor are both apparently have a martial arts background, and they pose for the artist to have like reference images for what's gonna happen in the manga.
The ultimate goal.
Yeah, they're like it's in the little, what's it called, omake stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much detail going into each character. There's at the end of every few chapters, there's a big old page about each character and how the design came about.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is coming from like martial artist knowledge and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's actually, the character design, I think, is one of the strongest aspects of the manga.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
it plays into your expectations, I guess, of the fights, because every single character, no matter how minor, will always get a character design that looks important, and they will always have like a backstory or like some explanation of their abilities, which are always very over the top. So it's I think the strongest thing about it is just that it's impossible to predict ever, pretty much, who is gonna win. And every single fight in the tournament is given equal importance, not just the ones that the main character participates in.
Oh yeah, you barely see the main character. Like the good thing about this tournament arc it's in at the moment is that there is like this background plot that it's been carrying through, but it's not given enough. Well, it's not given so much focus that it takes away from the fights. It's very clear that the fights are what we're meant to be focusing on, and every now and then it gives you a snippet of what this flowing through plot is. But ultimately, it's just, here are two fighters. Here are the businesses they're fighting for. Here are their backstories as they fight out. And it's, while it is formulaic, it's kept so fresh by the character designs, by those types of fighting. So it's a really good time. It's a really easy read as well.
Yeah, it's mostly action, so it's a pretty good, fast-paced read.
Yeah, I've only read, I think, the first few chapters, but that already was a blast. It's how our protagonist meets the main martial artist. And then I've just seen pages that both of you have posted, and all of them just look fantastic. Just the amount of speed and power and impact like these pages and these drawings have, it's just amazing. And
then there's also like the entire, it has weirdly defined power levels, I guess. how many assets a fighter has acquired and how many fights he has won, and everyone is just ridiculously strong. Everyone, no one's weak. So best thing about it, pretty much, is it's impossible to predict what's gonna happen. There's a lot of variety in completely crazy abilities and how the fights play out and all of that. Yeah,
one of my favorites of the weird abilities is the guy whose skull is so strong because when he was a kid, I think his father hit him in the head with a mallet, like repeatedly, and that apparently strengthened his skull. So there's a lot of things that you just don't question, just go with it. But it makes it so much fun.
It's pretty much a perfect story for what it wants to be. Like, it knows exactly what it wants to be, which is basically just this sort of simplistic fighting manga, I guess, but it executes it about as well as you possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
No boundaries, no holds barred. It's just having fun with the idea. And I think not having much of a plot is really beneficial to that.
Yeah.
And it's, what is it, about 100 chapters have been done, translated. I think it's about double that. That's actually in Japanese, and it's not got tiring yet. So it's a good sign.
Yeah. This one's also getting an anime this year.
Yeah, it is. There was a PV for it.
Yeah, true.
It's going to be CG, so fingers crossed it'll be okay. But
who knows?
But I don't think you could do Kengan in 2D and it not be a massive project.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe it gets a boost so that it gets a physical release, like sort of same with Golden Kamuy.
Hopefully.
That would be nice.
But it does seem to be doing well in Japan, at least from the comments the author makes in like the little sections and shit. And also how a lot of characters are popular amongst the female audience and whatnot.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
Okay, should I present mine then?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I have chosen Opus by Satoshi Kon because, well, I really like Satoshi Kon. I have sadly been slacking a bit on his work, but everything I've seen from him just nearly immediately entered my favorites and the stuff that I immediately loved, that being Paprika and Perfect Blue. And what most people don't seem to know is that he was a mangaka before he was a director. And Opus is his, I think, if I read this correctly, this the last work before he started his directorial debut on Perfect Blue. Yeah, and Opus is one very fascinating manga. It's not that long, so it's just 2 volumes. Has a physical release, German and English one at least. I think a French one as well. So you can buy that all in one, either in just 2 volumes or all in one. Yeah, and the story is about a mangaka called Nagai, no relation, and he is drawing like a crime psychological seinen story. And it turns out that, the ratings haven't been so good. And the editor tells him, well, yeah, of course, you should probably end it soon. And then he comes up with the idea, okay, the final big fight is going to happen between just the one psychic, the hero, and the bad guy, who's just a big like masked dude. I think it's just called The Mask. And he comes up with the ending that both should just kill themselves. Like both of them, like hero and villain both die. And it's sort of a bittersweet ending. And then suddenly it turns out that if he goes to draw that page, that suddenly this page is gone. And then he just looks around and then he sees that the protagonist of his story has come out and stolen the page. Because he said, no, I don't want to die, man. You can't kill me like that. And runs away. And then suddenly the mangaka, of course, doesn't know what's going on, then suddenly falls into his own work. And then suddenly notices, oh god, everything that I have been drawing is pretty much real, or it just exists in this world. And so sort of like it's a great like Satoshi Kon like themed work again, where you just know what's real, what's not, like duality of worlds. Which has been a theme in most of his stories. And you can really see that as well, because it predates all of his films.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and there's just so much like very cool ideas and jokes in there. Because I could easily see this manga working as a film. Like, you could always see, you could do that as a film. But because it's a manga about manga, and the mangaka falls into his own manga, it can do like pretty cool stuff with like either framing that falls apart or suddenly people breaking through other pages or something. It really plays with its medium really nicely. And I think it's would be stuff that you can't do with film. So yeah, I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, it's a really cool like meta narrative stuff where you just don't know what's real, what's not, what's going on. And then, of course, even better ideas start popping up. Like at first the protagonist of the story, like of the story in the story, doesn't want to die, so he runs away with the page of his own story. And then of course they follow him, like the male heroine and the mangaka run just follow him. And then suddenly they notice the further away they get from where the story should unfold, the more cheap the surroundings get, because the mangaka had always been slacking on his backgrounds. So just the main places are drawn well, and the further away they get from like the main story, just the houses then suddenly start becoming cardboard because his backgrounds were always so cheap, and they suddenly start knocking things over and just see, oh god, everything's just drawn shoddily. So yeah, great thing, great ending as well. Don't want to spoil it. It's not that long, but yeah, good stuff.
This one has a German release, right?
Yes, there's like I think it's split into 2 volumes, like the 2 original ones, and I think the English one is just one big volume.
Yeah.
Right. I think I've had it on my wish list at least for a while. Should probably pick it up. Sounds like the kind of meta shit I enjoy.
As I said, Satoshi Kon is amazing at this kind of stuff. And yeah, then even more amazing to just see it in sort of his life work in total. If you know that this is even before like Millennium Actress, even before Paprika, before Perfect Blue. So yeah, this is what it started as, I think, in its rawest form.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope that Satoshi Kon doesn't need an introduction at this point.
Yeah.
If you enjoy anime, you better watch at least one of those movies. Or Paranoia Agent, I guess, which is not a movie, but whatever, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I still have to watch that as well. Like reading it now and then listening to Suzumu Hagiwara's soundtrack recently, I thought, like, damn, I really should get more into his stuff. I need more. So I think Millennium Actress and Paranoia Agent are going to be my next ones to watch.
Now I'm getting recommendations on manga from Amazon, and Mob Psycho has a German release now.
Oh yeah, that's new. It's true.
Yeah. But that's a different thing. I haven't read that one.
Oh yeah, same. Just have seen the anime adaptation.
Yeah, I've read a little bit of it. It's pretty good. It kind of a good spit in the face to people who call one a bad artist, because he goes all out on quite a few panels, and it's just like his really simplistic, rough style is suddenly twisted on its head with these massive set pieces. I need to read more.
So we also have all of us had sort of prepared like shorter, quick fire things, because manga recommendations are always good, and I can present one that I wanted to present originally as my main one, but then suddenly found out, oh god, there is no proper release. And that's Eagle by Kaiji Kawaguchi. Because I found volume 1 at a used bookstore, and thought to myself, oh god, this is cool, I like this. Or rather, I found it because of course, the cover said Kaiji Kawaguchi, and I thought, wait a second, I know that name. It's the mangaka who has collaborated with Fukumoto on his 2 other works that are not drawn by him, but just written by him, Life and Confession.
Right.
Which are also both amazing. And yeah, Eagle is a political thriller about the first Asian American candidate who wants to rise to power. So yeah, and one Japanese journalist is supposed to follow him around and just look out for him. Yeah, and everything sort of goes wrong. Especially things are revealed. They can probably spoil that from volume 1. Turns out he finds out that the presidential candidate is his father, that had been long lost, and he doesn't really like him. So so he suddenly has like a conflict of like either meeting his father that he has been alienated from and is supposed to be the guy who he should have run the story about. But of course he can now. He's like,
Are they on the opposite ends of the political spectrum?
I think so, yeah. There's a lot of stuff like playing into it. He really hates the guy, but yeah, and then suddenly finds out, oh god, no, I'm related actually to him. And yeah, and I looked up a bit about it. Apparently won a few Eisner Awards for, I think, writing and other stuff. Like, this is like highly decorated. And I thought, like, damn, this should be around. And then I found out, okay, the German release is out of print. I think you can find like secondhand stuff for like €2 a piece, but you'd probably have to track them down. The French release is also out of print. An English release existed at one point, which was like 5 omnibus editions. It's quite short, I think. It's not that long. I think it's like 12 volumes or 14 or something, not that much. But yeah, English release also out of print, and a scanlation doesn't seem to exist. So
Great.
now I just sit on one German volume that I have. Fantastic.
That's a good.
3 languages, none of them help.
That's a good recommendation there.
Yep. So we'll go over to Eleanor's and read her copy
Yeah.
for the first volume.
Yeah, just gonna hand it around. I'm coming to your house. Bring your eagle. Okay, just looked it up. 11 volumes it's supposed to be.
You've also been reading the obscure manga Fist of the North Star, haven't you, Elena?
Yes. Exactly. That's also one I wanted to present. And I think some people are going to ask, wait, Fist of the North Star, that's not obscure or something. That's probably known or something. It's probably also the background of our very first podcast that you probably looked at or not. Why I want to recommend this is I don't think many people actually sat down and read it. I think it's more like a cultural conscience thing that everybody knows, like a few memes, like the da or the Gomae Moshinde.
Yeah, that's a recent one.
But yeah. Or the You Are Shock opening from the anime.
I'm gonna make a proclamation here that if you haven't read the manga, you're not allowed to use the "You Are Already Dead" meme.
New rule of the internet.
Go either watch it or read it. Don't be a poser.
Then you can meme.
You can only meme responsibly.
Exactly. So yeah, and I've actually sat down and started reading Fist of the North Star because I was interested, and I really like it. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, it was like, yeah, I like this stuff. Like the art is amazing, and also it's like it's as many people hate it. It's proto shonen of. Stuff gets punched, hero comes, stuff gets saved. A lot of good punching happens and good fights with even a lot of strategy and different like fighting types. Like the Fist of the North Star, where you touch pressure points, is just one of many fighting styles of stars. There are many other ones. And so yeah, you get cool fighting and very amazingly drawn story out there. And Kenshiro is the best. There is no way around it. And I think what has been drowned out, I think, by most stuff that I've seen is that Kenshiro is a funny character in his own ways. Just by the way, he just is absolutely deadpan. And also is just a badass who just throws one-liners with the straightest face ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he is a good man. He's not the emotionless guy that you probably would think he is.
Yeah, there's also the entire manly tears thing, which is sort of a minor meme, I guess. He does cry a lot. He's a very emotional man with an unmoving stone face. If you really want to see like the difference between shonen character designs of the 80s and of what they look like now, go look at a manga page of Fist of the North Star and then look at My Hero Academia. and just feel the difference.
All of these character designs are amazing. Like, this is just pure raw power. Just all of the how these are drawn. Like, I love Hara's art. Like, just these super stark, like, black and white contrasts just makes every page like so strong. It's amazing.
Yeah, Tetsuo Hara is drawing muscles you didn't even know existed. If you're into that, like I am.
Yeah, that's yes, especially his whole shading on clothes is great. I think because it's I think we didn't even talk about the story. It's like a post-apocalypse story. Everything is basically Mad Max.
Yep.
Water is rare, food also. Women and children suffer, men die, and in comes Kenshiro and
despite the
saves
fact
day.
that people barely have any food or water, the men are gigantic muscle men.
Yes.
They're getting their protein from somewhere.
The only food is protein powder.
It's all that's left. It keeps forever, basically.
Should be the new game theory. Is the sand in in Fist of the North actually protein powder?
Yes.
Everybody just takes a big gulp of sand every day. It's like, muscle. So yes, I've seen also like criticisms around that Fist of the North Star apparently didn't age well. Because it's just punching and a lot of like minor bosses along the way that also just get obliterated by Kenshiro, like one after the other. But I think that's the charm of it, really. Just really like it's just Kenshiro ruining someone's day is always fun.
Yeah.
It probably also with a nifty one-liner, cool panels. It's like amazing.
You know what else didn't age well? Me. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this one. Also, there is maybe a game coming out for this that would be cool. And there's also this weird like e-reader thing that was on Kickstarter. That is all of Fist of the North Star translated in English for the first time, I think. It had English releases before the manga, but it got cancelled every time. And now there was this Kickstarter thingy for a weird ebook that has like paper pages and shit, but it's an ebook and all that's on it is Fist of the North Star, so you know. Perfect book right there.
Yeah, and it still doesn't ship to Europe, but if you live in the US or Japan, just go for it.
Just put it into mass production. That's fine.
So yeah, Fist of the North Star. If you're just remotely interested, I say at least
if
check
you're
it out.
listening to this podcast,
the manga itself is amazing. At this point,
yeah. If you're looking at the title of this podcast and thinking what is GAR, then you ought to go back, and this is required reading.
Yes, we will put these on the syllabus. Test is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And please be punctual and bring your own pen. Oh yeah, if we're staying in the GAR spirit, next one I would love to present, because it just feeds with the GAR theme, is Burning Pen, or Blazing Pen, depending on translation. And as you probably guessed it belongs to the whole big canon of Blazing Transfer Student. Which is also
I know what you mean.
very cool series.
Is this like Blue Blazes cinematic universe or something?
Yes, it really is. Because like Blue Blazes sadly hasn't been scanlated in any way, but has an amazing TV series that you should watch. Like, this is required. I'm making you watch it.
But this is the guy, right? The author.
Exactly. That's by him. And as the cover says, it's a hot-blooded manga about drawing hot-blooded manga.
That's fantastic.
And that's probably the best thing ever. Burning Pen, relatively short. It's just 1 volume, 9 chapters. And it's the story of the artist with his 3 assistants and their daily struggles against editors, deadlines, and everything else. And it's really fantastic. If you think if you love like behind the scenes like manga about manga like Bakuman or something else, yeah, then you're gonna have fun with this one. For example, the first one is one of his assistants is not drawing the speed lines like the artist wants. He says these are too weak. Just that I think they are drawing a baseball manga, and suddenly the protagonist loses his ability to use his hand. And he's like, no, this frame needs more impact. He's like, yeah, but I already did the speed line. He says, no, you need more. Like, I don't know, give me your driver's license. Yeah, okay, what do we need my driver's license? Yeah, just give me. And he just snaps the driver's license in two, and the assistant starts screaming. It's like, oh God, no, why did you do that? And he said, yeah, you see, look around you. These speed lines, I want those. It's like, why did you have to destroy my property? I just have to show you speed lines, man. So it really takes the manga in the manga really amazingly.
Yeah. What little I've read of Blazing Transfer Student was incredibly frenetic and energized, so I'm excited to read some more of his stuff at some point, especially Burning Pen.
Yeah, this sounds pretty good. Sounds like basically the same concept as the Go Nagai autobiographical manga, but that one hasn't been translated, which is a real shame. So I guess this is a good alternative.
Yes, and what I love about this is just, as you said, it's absolutely hot-blooded. Like, everything is just cranked up to the most intensity that couldn't even think about. Like, even something as simple as a brush stroke or pen just doing something is amazing. Yeah, and every episode is like a little story arc of something. For example, what if your mangaka suddenly falls in love with an idol? What do you do? Because they don't have time to meet women. So they just see someone in media and go, oh, God, I love this person now. So how do you deal with that? Or how do you deal with the deadline when there's also a very important editorial party going on where you meet new people? And then suddenly all your assistants are drunk and you cannot meet the deadline. So yeah, it's just all of these like little story snippets that you could imagine like somewhere they happened. Probably not in this intensity, but they happened.
No, it's exactly this level of intensity.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put this on some type of backlog list. Sounds pretty good. I'm sold.
As we're doing classic manga, I've been reading more Ishinomori recently. I read Kamen Rider. I've not seen any of the Toku show. I really should. But the manga was amazing. It's incredibly energized. The paneling. Ishinomori in general was one of my favorite panelists. And like, it goes from being incredibly bold splash pages with use of either negative space or speed lines, or he'll have a page, especially in Robot Keiji, he'll have pages that are just filled completely with panels and panels overlapping panels and scenes happening interpolated with each other. So there's a scene in Robot Keiji, which is a pulp fiction detective hard-boiled manga crossed with a robot-driven sci-fi, with a robot detective. So there's this scene of a murder and the detective talking about it afterwards, but instead of having a panel with the murder and a panel of them talking, you've got these diagonal panels with more of the murder being revealed to you, and then in between that is them just talking about it. It's one of the most bizarre ways of laying out pages I've seen, but it works so well. Sometimes you get a little bit overboard with it, but it's just, how on earth am I meant to read this?
But it sounds great. Like unique paneling is always amazing because it's its own way of storytelling.
Yeah, this is the one that's a little overboard, but it's
oh, that's lovely.
It's a bit overwhelming, but it's a really interesting way of portraying the past and the present at the same time. There's another one later on where there's an explosion and the explosion is happening and you're getting reactions throughout, so it's laid out the same with those diagonal panels. That's quite an interesting way of building up impact. But he's a really interesting guy to read. Kamen Rider is a really exciting action manga, as you'd probably expect. lots of really bold pictures. There's also another one, the most recent one I read of his, which is an adaptation of an old Japanese S&M driven sci-fi manga, and it's a combination of prose and like comic.
That sounds wild.
And the paneling is incredible, but the story is absolute garbage. So you've got that balance of pages upon pages of really bland prose, a story that isn't that interesting, but then some really, really amazing paneling.
You gotta figure out for yourself if
happen.
it's worth it.
Yeah, it's only one volume, so it doesn't take long to read.
Yeah, that's okay.
I probably have one classic one as well that I have been reading recently, and that is Osamu Tezuka's Dororo.
Oh yeah, nice.
Because I got the complete omnibus edition for Christmas last year.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
And it's a very big boy. That's one brick of a release. Like, you get all of it, but it's thick.
Insert that video of Fantano going, "That's a thick ass boy."
Boy. Damn, boy, he's thick. Boy, that's a thick ass boy.
Yeah, it is one very big release, but absolutely worth it. And the story is amazing as well. I haven't read much Tezuka yet. Also, I just think Buddha is the one that I read the most. Really love that one because it just feels like a big, really epic story in the truest sense of the word. But Dororo is like a historical, horror-tinged samurai story.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels amazing because like Tezuka doing horror is quite shocking, actually, because it just clashes with his today I would say cutesy art style, but I don't think it was probably cutesy in his time.
Mm-hmm.
Or but if you just look at these round like cute figures that you probably know from Astro Boy or Metropolis or somewhere else, and then you suddenly just see it like crash with like either body horror or like absolutely horrific monsters. It's like, oof, that's going on. Like, and the story is cool as well. It starts with I think it's an aristocrat who goes into a hall of like a 42 or 38 demon statues, and he says, "I want to rule this country. What do you want from me?" And they ask for his child, which has just been born or is about to be born. And he said, "Okay, then take 38 parts from my child, like his arms, his eyes, his legs, his nose, ears, everything." And it works. He gets cursed with a cross mark on his head, then returns to his the wife in labor, and the son is being born, and everybody just runs away because the son is so hideous. It's awful. And he said, and he just starts laughing. He said, "Haha, the country belongs to me." Everybody just thinks he's gone mad. And then he says, "Yeah, I'm just gonna give away my child. Like, I don't need this anymore. This is not mine anymore. This belongs to the demon world now." And yeah, he just sends the child away. And it turns out, the kid is doing fine, even though he's deaf, blind, has no limbs, gets picked up by a lovely doctor and gets raised to be a very cool samurai. And also gets prosthetic limbs and learns sort of psycho powers that he can communicate with people via brain waves. So it's never quite explained, but he can just talk to people in his head. It
just works.
It just works. It doesn't need to be explained. But he has like a very cool design that his arms are swords and he just puts like prosthetics over them. Like, if he is in danger, he just throws away his arms and just runs into the fight with both sword arms. It's fantastic. And a really great design as well. And he, of course, meets the titular Dororo, who is a little thief boy. And then both of them sort of go to an adventure, because as he finds out, if he defeats like 38 demons, he gets back his things that he has lost. Like, for example, if he defeats one demon, he gets like one eye back or something. And like all of these things, like either these fights are gruesome as well, like not even in their violence, but also in the implications and backstories, but also just how he just grows back stuff. And seeing Tezuka do body horror, as I said, is quite the sight. It's really like, oof, like, whoa. I've seen people describe this as Tezuka's darkest work. I don't know if that's true, but it's probably out there, yeah. But it's great. Really like it.
Probably. Yeah, there are parts of, like, some of his short stories are quite dark. I think if you want to get into Tezuka and you don't really want to dedicate time to one of his longer stuff, get one of his short story collections, either Under the Air or Clockwork Apple. Both of them have got lots of really interesting stories, and quite a few of them are really dark and done really well. I'd say something like Barbara might be darker, just solely because that's deals with a lot of sin and the ending isn't all too cheery. But I mean, Tezuka's got so much that there's probably something hidden down in the bottom that's pretty dark. He was an odd guy, so you can imagine there's some strange stuff.
There's also been a trailer for the Dororo anime, the new one, and that's looking pretty interesting. It's going in a very expressive sort of animation style, and the trailer also looks like super dark and horror-y, which I guess, like, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. I looked up a bit about this trailer. It's I think all animated by one of the pupils of Shinya Ohira. If you probably know him, he's like one of the main animators who has like a very distinct style. Probably also and also works with USA a lot.
Yeah,
like a sort of very wispy pencil style. And it would be cool if the not the whole anime goes for it, but yeah, like the PV is just that.
yeah.
And the scene that it portrays, I've read that scene now. It's the samurai guy fighting against phosphorus, like dead foxes.
Yeah, it's
And they also have like a lot of cool, very like all the demons and that have also the traditional lore behind them, and all of these designs are just amazing. They're like dead foxes that just like foam fire from their mouth. That's cool. And he's fighting those in the PV, and you can see him like pulling his prosthetic arm off and revealing the sword.
If people didn't know, Dororo also has a PS2 game.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's been adapted into a PS2 game. It's called, I think, Blood Will Tell. Like, they didn't take the name from it. Has a very different, more realistic art style. But yeah, it's kind of like a minor cult hit, I guess, if you want to seek that out.
Also, the old anime adaptation apparently is also very cold, but it's from the 60s, I guess. It's like very, very old school. Oh yeah, it's 1969. Nice. Oh yeah, Osamu Dezaki was on it. That's why I remember it. It was one of his first stuff that he worked on, and you kind of see his influence in that. Oh yeah, it's now see it in the synopsis. He's lacking 48 of his body parts that he has to regain. And so then Dororo, the little thief, and Hyakimaru, that's his name, they both travel the lands to fight demons and sort of be on the lookout for like their own like backstory. And those backstories are pretty hard. So yeah, you're going dark samurai stuff that is pretty amazing. Okay, then I have like two series that got a lot of traction on social media, like a lot of Twitter and Tumblr. But I hope that this podcast is going to stay for a bit longer. Then sort of would be nice to just sort of preserve them as a recommendation. One of them is hope I don't flop this now. Gokusho Fudo? The Way of the House Husband. which is a very short, I don't want to say gag manga, but yeah, a sort of slice of life show about a Yakuza stay-at-home husband who has quit his crime life and is now a stay-at-home husband to a working office lady. And yeah, it's very cute. It's and it also has like some great humor in it, because like how is one hardcore gangster going to fit into the normal world now? Because he just looks intimidating as all hell. But Bree loves cooking and loves taking classes and loves shopping, and also loves his wife and wants to do this like stuff for her. But just like he's going to be stopped by the police, like his old crime partners are trying to catch up with him because he once was legendary, and he just disappeared and nobody knows where it just happened. That he just ran away. Yeah, and now he's just living the peaceful life. So yeah, and this was like a web manga, but this seems to be like a new release format now, that you sort of get like very quick chapters in like very quick succession, and then there's going to be a stop, and then there's going to be like a proper like tankobon volume release. Like they're sort of testing the waters online if this series is good or not, if this just gets hype or not, and then it's going to be picked up by a distributor or publisher, whatever. So yeah, so currently I think 6 chapters are out, and then we have to wait now for the proper release and the proper continuation of it. Like it's not like in traditional magazines anymore. We just have like a one shot, or just like run, and then we'll see how the little postcards come back with the rankings. Sort of internet have these chapters, react, and we'll see what we do. And the other one that also has the same format, which had like a lot of quick web chapters in succession and is now getting a proper release, I think in May 2018, is Ojisama Toneko, The Old Man and His Cat, which is an immensely heartwarming, cute series of a little fat cat, a really fat big cat, who is just sad that he's not getting picked up from the animal shelter, because everybody just wants cute little kittens or just younger cats, and nobody cares about like the old fat cat anymore. And then suddenly one day an old man comes in and he says, "I want that one." And Fat Cat, of course, goes, who is also like sort of one of the 2 narrators in the story. This goes, "Oh no, he's doing a mistake. He's buying it for his daughter. I'm feeling it. This is going to end awful. I don't want to be returned." And then the old man says like, "No, this cat is for myself." And yeah, so the wonderful friendship of the old man and his cat start. Like the cat who always has been like sort of captive in the cage, trying to warm up and starting his life with now the old man, and the old man, who of course find out later also has a backstory why he wants this cat, tries to just get accustomed to having a pet because he never had a pet. And it's really just this is going to be heartwarming, heartbreaking at the same time. There's a lot of tears, crying of joy or sadness or both, everything. So it's a cute little series. That's just all I want to say. It's just a tiny one that I want to throw out because it's cute.
A manga that I only found out about because I searched the name on Mao just to see if there's anything about it, called Shiba Inu. As you can probably guess why I would search that. It's a short manga by Masanori Morita, who also did Rookies and a boxing manga that I can't remember the name of right now. Rokun no Nashi Blues. Doesn't have anything about sheeps. It's about a Japanese comedy duo who break up, and it's kind of the drama that comes out of that, and like it's good manly friendships, as we all love. So yeah, it's a good little read.
Why is it called Shiba Inu?
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I think the name of their comedy duo was Shiba Inu or something related to that. I don't remember why it was called Shiba Inu. but it is.
But it looks rad. I really like the look of this.
Yeah.
I had started reading Rookies because I went through the big catalog of Shonen Jump and wanted to look like what is there that I haven't read or haven't checked out. And pretty high ranked up there and never heard of it was Rookies, which is a high school baseball sports manga. But here's the kicker. It's told from the perspective of the teacher and not the pupils. And that's pretty cool, like that you get sort of a high school manga, but that is from the viewpoint of a teacher who just sees like through all the teenage stuff and just really wants to take care of him, but they of course don't respect him as an authority. And yeah, I think I just read like 2 or 3 chapters, but I love the style. Really like classic old school shonen that it just loops around back to Gar, like Fist of the North Star. Yeah, that was nice. There's really like the teacher character who was like a ruffian himself back in the day, and now like takes on this baseball team and becomes their superior.
Yeah, so kind of like Onizuka.
Oh yeah. The Onizuka is very reminiscent of that too. It's true. And then if I dig through my list here, I completely at random stumbled over a little seinen slice of life manga called, for some reason, the Japanese title has been translated in the English version into French.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me why. But the English translation now calls the manga Une histoire d'amateur de friandises, or the story of a sweets lover, if I translate that back quickly. And it's quite a unique little thing. It's about a chocolate shop or a little patisserie in France, and about all the surrounding people that go in and out there. Like the one customer was an older man who was like loves eating chocolate there. One of the cooks who's recently started out. One of the older like baker guys who just has problems with his wife. And then suddenly some of these stories start intertwining, and you suddenly get like this whole like network of people that surrounds this little shop. And what I really liked about it, I hope that I can show it simply to you. I'm going to throw it on screen. Is that everything's like sort of drawn in brown. Mm-hmm. Like it feels like it fits with the whole chocolate theme, that it's like not in black ink but in brown ink. And yeah, there's like really cool stuff happening in that. Really liked it. It's like a quick little read of I think 1 volume, where you have like one of the baker persons like meeting guy on a wedding and thinking about how this dreadful wedding cake just represents all of their terrible relationship, or how chocolate making just is a lifestyle and everything. Just like liked it. It's like a little cool like mood piece that everybody has problems, but they're all gonna stick together.
Clearly, you two had more prepared for this than I did. I'm just happy to have gotten in the Golden Kamuy bit. That's all I wanted to do. I'm just
kept on brand.
Looking through my folder for images to throw on screen.
Oh yeah, as we haven't mentioned much Fukumoto, an early Fukumoto manga I read recently, or caught up to recently, is Penchan, which is a mahjong manga by Fukumoto, but in his early, like, soft, rounded, coming out of his shoujo roots style, which is about this pure little boy Penchan who plays mahjong against the Yakuza. And the story doesn't have much of a story, but it's basically Penchan going around and helping people in his own little way. But the reason I want people to read it is because there's a chapter where Pen falls asleep and has a dream that he gets transported off to the mahjong world and becomes a mahjong player. And it's the best thing Fukumoto's ever written. It's so out of left field.
It's the most so Fukumoto thing Fukumoto has ever written.
Yeah, it's just
If you ever mahjong so hard, you became tile. Yeah, that looks fantastic.
It's no Akagi, but it's a cute little read.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I think most people are familiar with Fukumoto's later art style, which is like very sharp, very geometrical. And in his early works, you can still feel his shoujo roots of like super round, cute style that later became like the sharp one.
Yeah.
So like reading his early stuff is also an experience.
Yeah. Well, you can tell he moved away from his shoujo roots pretty quickly by the big wide blocky art style they had with 10 and things like Route 39 and early Kaiji, and then that slowly evolved into the intense sharp style.
Especially Gintokin. Yes. I think my favorite still being like the Gintokin the time of super wide people, like probably also the 90s with like shoulder pads and stuff, but that's just wide. Absolutely wide. Like everybody's a total unit. So probably as a sequel to the last manga recommendation round that we did, where I also presented Gintokin, I finished Gintokin. I think when I first started out, I just sort of, it's a bit of everything, like a lot of economy stuff and some gangster stuff here and there. And now that I finished it, probably entered into one of my favorites, especially for the last arc that it does, because that's just peak Fukumoto writing. Imagine if Fukumoto just did, I don't want to spoil too much, but just did one very hardcore, like close action thriller. I don't want to say like Die Hard, but yeah, so sort of in that vein.
Right.
There's a lot of like different arcs in between. Of course, there's going to be mahjong because it's Fukumoto. There's going to be mahjong. Yeah. So and one poker arc as well. A lot of economy talking. You get a lot of financial stuff, but it's not too overwhelming. Like those normally stop after like 1, 2, 3 chapters. It's like, okay, yeah. So start rambling about banks again. Tell it again. And then thankfully just something else comes. Like if you're interested in that stuff, great. But I think for most people it's not going to be like super duper interesting.
We could talk about Fukumoto for days.
Yeah.
I mean, we have talked about doing a podcast at some point and going over everything, which we'll have to do one day.
And I'm very much looking forward to that. Yeah, but Gintokin can now absolutely recommend. Like there's going to be a few rough patches like here and there, where I just think, okay, it's slowing down, but it's going to pick up again in between. Probably going to reread it as well, now that I know mahjong better, because I also read this one without not much mahjong knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But great one. The scanlation is nearly finished. But yeah, there's like Morita and Ginji are a great duo as well. And Morita has entered one of my favorite characters as well. Like he is, as most say, he's like proto Kaiji, but like if he was successful, or if he was actually lucky in his life, and so he's his own, like a bit too soft for this world, but actually strong and trying his best. He's like really a cool character. Like him a lot. Like his design also a lot. Oh yeah, I found one on my list that we could probably add, which is probably not in the manly category, but it's put off. We're gonna put into the shonen category just because slice of life. And that is Itoshi no Nekoke.
Oh, yeah, by the Rakugo mangaka.
Exactly. As probably know, we both love the show again, Roku Rakugo Shinju, which was based on the manga, and it's by the same mangaka. It's a gay love story between two guys who, after a long time of long distance relationship, start moving together, and now they sort of have to live together for the first time. And yeah, they just move into a big house where a lot of colorful characters live. One who is like a burlesque crossdresser, one who is like a badass chain-smoking single mom, one like terribly close-minded grandma, and some other characters like this like a gamer dude who just hangs around and is always all right. Okay. Yeah, and it's also one very big, very cool ensemble cast thing starts. And why I just want to really praise this one just for having a portrayed good relationship between two men.
Yeah, things are actually discussed and sorted out through communication, which shocker actually helps in relationships.
Who would have thought? Wow. Yeah, because as you probably know, most game manga is either super melodramatic or not really portraying LGBT things very well, and most often borderline fetishistic or just absolutely not realistic or whatever. So it's just really, really good to just have one just nice thing around where you just probably can relax and think like, it's good. It's not perfect. Like there are a few like rough chapters where I think like I don't know why that's in there. Probably just to for the fetish corner in the background yelling. Yeah, but overall it's like really cute series that also is very sex positive. If we can say that in this family friendly podcast.
Of course.
Yes. So yeah, this is good. If you are looking for like good LGBT manga, this month for you.
Definitely worth a read.
Yes, and you will recognize the art style from Rakugo as well, which is of course like very, I don't know how you would call it, like very calm.
Yeah,
very like adult. Yeah, like I can probably just talk some more. It just stop me rambling if I'm ramble too much. Because Tom isn't here, we could recommend one from his favorites, which is what I'm going to do, and that is Murcielago, however you want to pronounce it, which was actually one of the first things he recommended to me back in the day. And it's the very adult and very not for kids story of a chaotic goth lesbian killer assassin who is who's working for the police to kill other like dangerous people. So basically she always comes in when the police is at their wit's end, together with a very cute little high school sidekick who just drives the most insane like car tricks ever. And so basically these two go out to kill people in the most outlandish ways that just could happen. And Murcielago is absolutely good fun. Like you have this very cool protagonist who is just very, very gay. Like the most lesbian that you could probably ever get. Who also has a lot of sex with women, has also, I think, an on and off girlfriend, and is basically interested in a lot of hot women that just happened around her. Yeah, and I haven't read much yet. It's I think I've been like one of the first big arcs that I finished, which is then later an old man summoning a lot of assassins to his house, and then suddenly a game of death starts where nobody can leave the house and everything's just full of traps. And I just like these ideas of like sadistic game shows, which is everybody has to work with everybody or against everybody to escape this thing, and everybody's also a killer who kills people. So what I want to just point out about Murcielago is just the very fun characters, the outlandish action, because these car chases are amazing. Really like how everything, there's a lot of drifting, a lot of swiveling, a lot of jumping off buildings into other things, sword fights, like pistol gun fights and other weapons, as well as the theme of just having all the police just saying, we're gonna send in our assassin if you send in yours. So yeah, this is cool. Also, as I said, absolutely not for kids. There's a lot of raunchy humor. There's a lot of sexual stuff happening, a lot of violence, sort of explicit violence. But I think if you can deal with all of this, you will have a lot of fun with these characters, especially like the whole great like character design that goes on.
Yeah, I've heard it's very intense, should we say?
Yes, it definitely is. There's a lot of power running through it. Like it has a drive to go absolutely forward. Great pacing too. Like the first chapter just really flew by.
Nice. Oh, as it's you've got currently the Cutie Honey Universe anime. As people know, I'm a big fan of Anno's movie, but around the same time as that, when they were trying to kind of modernize Cutie Honey, and essentially reimagine it, you had Cutie Honey, the 3-episode OVA. You had Anno's movie, and then you also had Cutie Honey A Go-Go, which was a manga by Shinpei Ito, which really changes up Cutie Honey in general. It's a lot more reminiscent of the movie and the OVAs. The art style is a lot softer, a lot more. I would say a lot more expressive because obviously it's Go Guy. It's literally Go Guy's thing is expression, but it's expressive in a I guess in a different way. The character designs have been reimagined, but it's just so much fun. It's one volume, and unfortunately it's inconclusive because I believe there was either some time constraints with it, and it just kind of ends on a cliffhanger. But it's the typical Panther Claw going after Cutie Honey, and then Cutie Honey's backstory being throughout while you've got the cops after her. So it's good. It's good. Very quirky, especially if you do like the movie and the OVAs. The tone is a lot more along those lines. But you also get, if you've seen the old TV anime, with Cutie Honey in random costumes and just sort of popping up and expecting people to be surprised when she reveals who she actually is. There's also Cutie Honey versus Devilman Lady, which is terrible, but it's a thing that exists. It's the most forced crossover I've ever read, but it's it's a thing.
Yes, the good fanfiction and doujin era of Konakai.
Unfortunately, I doubt we could post many screenshots because most of the good ones are of Devilman Lady, and they're definitely not safe for work.
Put up all the censor stuff. All of it. Or just cover the screen with your hand. just now. 10 seconds ago. 3, 2, 1, not safe for work now.
The other crossover of Go Guy stuff, or I guess some Dynamic Pro stuff, is the Getter and Devilman one, which I also read this year. And that's worth reading for the Devil Getter, which is the most outlandish extra design I've ever seen.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
Yep.
Oh, fantastic.
I think, that's about me done. That was about 300 manga you've got to read now.
I think the very last that I can throw in that I just see on my list is because nothing is complete without Elena throwing out the Mahjong manga. Gintokin doesn't count. And that's Tetsunaki no Kirinji. Kirinji is a slacker guy in his late 20s, and he only has ever played Mahjong online. And he's quite good at it. He has like a super high rank. He really kicks some serious butt online. But the problem is he is broke. And it has sort of started to actually eating away at his life. Like his wife has taken away his kid from him. They're divorced now, and he only is allowed to see her on weekends. yeah, and he basically is making absolutely zero amount of money. So he thinks, okay, mahjong is the only thing that I can actually do. So I'm gonna go into like the bad districts and try to win some money with mahjong, like gambling. And of course, this goes absolutely wrong because turns out real life is not like online. And also, as like sort of closed-in guy, he just cannot deal with like this whole world. But why I want to recommend this so far is like because it also has like it's not centered around mahjong that much. Like it's not the hardcore mahjong stuff of Fukumoto. It's like a bit lighter. Also came out in the same like magazine, the Kindai Mahjong one, which just means your manga has to be centered around mahjong, and you can basically do anything else, which is a great concept. Yeah, and I like this because this is far more serious. Like with the single dad trying to care for his child by gambling, gets off the bum rap by his ex-wife, and yeah, just trying his best. I've only read I think the first volume or so, but I like this one, and it's also not, as I said, not too hard on the mahjong. So yeah, the narrator and the protagonist are going to catch you on what's happening. So this is a bit more unique, like more seinen-y slice of life of like some harsher themes. Like as I said, with like divorce and just seeing your kid on the weekend and stuff. Yeah, then I think we can round this up, and I hope we provided you with some new manga to read.
There's going to be something in there that people will like. There's got to be.
It's even longer than the first episode, and people like that one apparently.
Yeah, that's the most popular one at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there is probably going to be a cliche now, but please leave us comments. Reread all of them because we don't actually have much, and we respond to them. So if you write us either like on YouTube, or you can also visit us on Twitter and our Discord, we will actually talk to you.
Yeah.
Like if you just want to just talk to us, or just want more recommendations, or just info, or whatever, just want to talk. Oh yeah, and while you're here, apparently you have to ring the bell now next to the subscribe button for some reason, so that you can see all of our weird videos. So ring that bell for the GARcast. Please also subscribe, write comments, the thumbs up. Visit our Discord, post Shiba Inus. Then we are happy. Yeah, it's an event if we get a comment. Like we generally get excited. So yeah, then thank you for having been with us and listening to this little manga recommendation round. And I hope we had something for you. So then we say goodbye. And this has been, as always, Ali.
Bye-bye.
Boris.
Bye.
And me, Elena. So have a good time and see you around. Bye-bye.